Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kenny Lammons here with Medicare Millennials, and today I brought Andrew back on from T65sellingsecrets.com. I had a video with him just a week or two ago, and honestly, he's got more T65 Medicare knowledge in his pinky finger than what I've been able to accrue just these short past few years, and I'm learning a lot from him. I also love the coaching program that he offers. So we've just decided, hey, I think this is super valuable for my audience. Let me invite you back on for a series of 2 or 3 videos where we really just break down how and why the T65 business really is one of the best ways to sell Medicare. And not only that, but with once you niche to T65, then there's a lot of specific ways that you can be successful within the T65 niche, right? So, Andrew, welcome. Thank you for coming back on. If you just, again, want to remind us of how to find you and just, what your business looks like, then we'll jump right into today. Finances, commissions, cash flow, money. Why T65, the money is more lucrative and a better way to build a Medicare business?
Yes, I would agree. Yeah, so my name's Andrew Hibbard. I've been doing this now for close to a decade, a little more. Basically, 2018, I made the shift to just strictly targeting T65. In those first kind of 5 years, I was able to kind of build my book up to over 1,700 MAPD policies. Um, selling. Now I still sell. I'm a one-man band. I don't have any staff, no downline. I have a little tiny 500, 600 square foot office. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'm selling 30 plus T65 a month on average. So with the commissions now, it's about $18,000 a month or so. Excuse me. So yeah, my residuals right now are a little over 500,000, and then new commissions in the year, 18,000 a month, 12. So it's like 220 or so, 216, 216. Yeah. So T65 is where it's at. Definitely pays a lot better than prorated commissions for sure.
Yeah, so before we jump into the meat and potatoes of it, I think that's interesting. Thank you for being so transparent and upfront about like the size of your book and what your income looks like because that makes a lot of agents' eyes go like this because a lot of times they only hear about those type of numbers from agents that have a huge downline or maybe a call center model,
Yep.
not from a one-man shop. And so I think that's what makes your story so interesting. I have been in the insurance business for almost 10 years now, but I started as a life insurance agent. I was captive. And then when I went independent, I like dabbled doing different things. So I really have only been focused on Medicare for about 4 years now. In the first year and a half of that, I really didn't do things. I wish I could have go back and do things
Oh
a
yeah.
little differently, right? And so,
Yeah.
you know, like I still have a great book of business, and if you include all my clients, my book looks about like yours, but just good, just Medicare. I don't have 1,700, right? So that's beautiful. I want to get in my clip every month for new to Medicare plans is floats between 10 and 20 new to Medicare plans a month.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
so I would love to take that next step and essentially double that to 30. Now, one last thing. I've done it where I was selling 30 to 40 a month, but it wasn't T65s. It was plan transfers. And what we're going to talk about today is going to explain that just selling 10 new to Medicare
Oh
is
yeah.
worth selling 40 plus plan transfers.
Yeah.
So these numbers can be confusing, right? People skew them. Like I sell
Sure.
50 plans a month. Well, what kind? How
Yep.
are they 78-year-olds that you're doing a plan transfer on? How much
Yeah.
money are you making? How long are they
Right.
staying on the books, right? So, man, let's just tell me a little bit about financially, bird's eye view, why T65 can make more sense for a lot of agents.
Yeah, so all those points are correct. I would agree with them. I when I made the shift to target T65, it was for a couple reasons. I was getting out of the Air Force, newly married. We just bought our first house. I had a baby on the way. So I had a lot going on in my new civilian life personal life, family life. And my whole challenge was I wanted to make sure that I was going to be a present parent. My wife was staying home with the kid at the time. Now we have three, but um, so I'm also the provider, right? The patriarch. So I need to make sure that any minute I'm leaving my house and going to make money, if I'm submitting a sale, it better be the most amount of money possible. Otherwise, why put my pants on? So looking at the way, and this is probably what you're talking about, looking at the way I'll just use MAPDs as an example because it's a little easier to compare apples to apples than SUPs and PDPs. So if you look at the way MAPDs pay, if it's a plan change, so someone already on Medicare and they're already enrolled in a plan and you're convincing them to change plans for whatever the reason is, that's a prorated commission. So it doesn't pay you as the agent as much as somebody who's new to Medicare, which could either be turning 65 or older than 65, kept working, and maybe now getting off an employer group health plan later in life, right? So two different ways to do that. So just
Basically, the first time they get on Part B.
correct,
Yeah.
right? Yep, good way to think about it. So if you think about it for easy math, let's just go with a plan change in 2025 pays about $300. And then a new to Medicare is about $600. I'm averaging, it's a little higher in some states, but for easy math. So, like right off the bat, you're looking at do you want to make twice the money or do you not? And then with a plan change, I think it's about $25.50 a month, I believe, is the step. So if you make a sale for a 1/1 effective, it's 300. If you make a sale for February, it's $25 less. So it's 275 you get paid, and then 250, 225, 200. So by the time you get down to December of this year, 2025, if you're changing a plan for a 2/1 effective, you're getting paid $25 for that hour you're spending. Where
So
with a
for a plan transfer, it's
right,
prorated based on what time of year, calendar year.
however many months have gone by already, yeah.
Right.
Where like you could sell one T65 that's effective for 12/1 and you make $600. So same hour, 24 times the money.
Exactly. Yep.
So for
So
me,
even at the end of the year, you still get that 600 plus dollars
yep,
because they're new to Medicare.
yep, exactly. So like, and I think a lot of agents don't think about themselves as small business owners. But if you think about cash flow, you have overhead, whatever your profit is that you want to take home, your expenses, whatever. I think a lot of agents are just like, well, I got to be busy. I got to work hard. I got to be out in the field. I got to do events. I got to blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like, well, whatever sales are good and the more is better. But I caution agents and I try to help them understand when they kind of come into my world, join my email list and, or in my agent community that working hard doesn't really matter if you're working on the wrong target. The right target is better and more important than just working hard. So when I help agents kind of see this, right? Let's just say that you want to make 50,000 or $60,000 this year. So you got to make $5,000 every month, right? And a lot of agents don't think about running a business in a 12-month cycle. They think about AEP, OEP, SEP. And then so if you think about it as a 12-month cycle, if you want to make $5,000 a month and you're selling $600 T65 plans, that commission allows you to only have to sell, what is that? Seven or eight a month,
Yeah.
8 a month.
Mhm.
Where if you're doing plan changes and you still need the same 5,000 for your mortgage, your car payment, saving for a vacation, whatever, in January at 300, you got to sell 15, right? Yeah.
Yep. Give or take.
But now in April, you got to sell 25.
Mhm.
And then in July, you got to sell 40 to make the same amount of money. So
Right.
to me, when I had my wife, my kid, we had all these, new expenses buying the house and trying to fix stuff up, try to take vacations. My whole idea was, how do I work less but make more at the same time? And the only way to do that is targeting T65.
So here in a minute, I'm going to play devil's advocate, but 100% agree with you. That was the light bulb for me a couple of years ago, right?
Mhm.
And that's why I'm thankful that I'm learning even more from you and specifically for new to Medicare here. Um, but so before I do that, just a couple other positives about T65 financially that I want to ask you about. See, when we sell Medicare, if you were just worried about your upfront commission, like learn how to sell IULs and annuities, right? Like, or even final expense, because you can, it's way easier to make 5,000 a month selling life insurance than it is Medicare. Okay. No doubt, right? But so the cash flow matters in Medicare, but ultimately everybody wants 1,700 clients on the books,
Yeah, so
right?
renewals on the back end. Yep.
So what do you think sets forget the upfront commission. You made that point. It's a no-brainer.
Mhm.
But on the back end, why is a new to Medicare sale? So T65 new to Medicare, we mean the same thing with some
Sure.
caveats. So a new to Medicare sale, why is that so much more valuable in the long term?
Um, the easy answer, which might not be politically correct, but they are less problematic. And I'll explain that in a second. So I'll give you kind of the tale of two sales, if you will.
Okay.
So you sit with Mrs. Johnson, who's 83, and her Eliquis is now very expensive, and you convince her to save money on Eliquis by moving from plan A to plan B, right?
Mm-hmm.
All our doctors are still in network, checks all the boxes. We're just changing carriers, and you make a plan change. Great. Now, the value you provided Mrs. Johnston was what? You told
Save her
her,
money.
well, you told her that your role in her life is to review her plan every year and see if you can save her some money.
Mm-hmm.
So now next year, her expectation is what? I better sit with you and review my plan to see if you can save me more money.
Yep.
Where with T65, you're meeting with Mr. Smith, who's never been on Medicare before ever, had his plan picked for him for 40 years, working at the Ford plant or whatever. And well, that's not a good example because he might have a retiree plan,
Yeah.
but had his plan picked for 40 years from his employer and now moving to Medicare in year one. So now by you getting in front of him and explaining Medicare 101 and here's how it works, and then also obviously helping him pick his plan, A, usually people who are new to Medicare, turning 65, whatever, they're more healthy. They have less going on, shorter doctor list, less prescriptions, more times than not. There's, of course, outliers. But you also can now explain to Mr. Smith how you want to work with him moving forward, which is not going to be, we should review every year. Now it's, gee, I'm really glad we did so much work up front to pick this really great plan for you in the first year you sign up. Now, I think about this a lot like buying a car. You do a lot of work up front. You want a pickup truck, you want a minivan, you want a sports car, whatever. But you don't go buy a car every year, right? You wait. Either you're leasing it, so in 3 years you turn it in, you get a new one, or you drive that thing till it dies, or the car itself no longer meets your need. You had a two-seater, you got married, now you need a minivan. So as much as you love the car, you got to turn it in because the car now sucks. So the same thing I explain to my clients in my new sales meetings is, you might have the two-seater now, and in 3 years, your needs might change. Even though that company, that coverage is still great, it's not covering the new cancer diagnosis you have. Or you got 5 new prescriptions, and that formulary's not going to be as good as for you as something else. But there
Yep.
has to be a reason to actually change. So I'm able to plant the seed. So if I write, what is it now, 360 new apps a year, I'm setting the standard with those. I'm explaining the expectation that I'm not planning on sitting with you in person to review your plan almost another 3 years from now.
Yep.
Right? So now I can stack that. So basically, every 4 years, I know I got about 300 people that I need to be seeing. So I
Yeah.
can plan my year, plan my AEP around that.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that if they just some people move or their drastic situation changes, like
Yeah, of course.
still there for them, but you were able to create an expectation of we did a lot of work here. We love this plan. We don't want to change it until we have to. We want your life simple.
Yep.
And also you brought more value to them on the front end. So they're like if you drive that point home and you remind them of that through follow-ups, they're also just not picking up the phone for the next nickel they can save. They value
Exactly.
the relationship.
Right. And I will do a caveat with this because the way I'm able to quote unquote get away with kind of the 3 year review is it's a 3 year in-person review. Okay. So it's not like I'm forgetting these people and I'm not keeping in touch. So like most average agents that come into my world that are very curious about how to replicate my success for themselves, they are astonished at typically a average agent sends an AEP ANOC. It's kind of like, hey, don't forget about me. I'm your agent. We should talk, right? If they're better than that, maybe they do a birthday call or a birthday card with the ANOC. Okay. I have an email newsletter I do to all my clients once a week. That's 52 touches a year. I have a print newsletter that I do every month. That's 12 touches a year. So now I'm up to 64 versus another agent who's doing one or two. So there's no way people forget about me. And there's other things I do as well. But in AEP, part of my print newsletter is a survey. So they have to fill that out. And again, I show them that in our sales appointment of you are expected to fill this out. If you want me to keep reviewing your stuff every year and cross-referencing it against the records I now have saved for you, so you don't have to start over with a new agent, you need to fill this survey out. And this is how I know what's important to you. New doctors, new drugs, whatever they need to share with me, right? So I can review their plan every year, not in person, right? Offline, if that makes sense. So
No,
this way I can still follow up with them and say, hey, I know you're on plan A and plan B will save you $5 on a copay, but is it really worth starting over, getting new insurance cards, updating everything, doctors, hospitals, pharmacies, all that for $5? I don't really see the value in that. And usually it'll walk people off the ledge, keeps the relationship, keeps my renewal, and I move on to the next new sale.
no, that's huge. I mean that any new agents or agents that are looking to branch into this, like that is gold right there and something that you can lay that foundation on the front end. I totally encourage you guys, like one option to consider is go to T65sellingsecrets.com. He has a system that he provides like a coaching program for him. That's not the only way to do it, but it's clearly one really good and unique way. Now, couple other things on that, just real briefly. Number one, if you ever do decide you want to be a big cross seller, like you would love to be that guy that sells, 300 hit plans a year or life insurance or annuity sales, T65 are the creme de la creme to cross sell because it's a pivot point in life. So they're typically walking away from work benefits. And so they're in the prime situation to roll over a 401k or to replace that life insurance plan or to replace those ancillary benefits like cancer, dental, vision, hospital. So there's that as well. We don't even have to go into, but there's that. And then this one sounds kind of I don't want this to sound mean, but your people new to Medicare have a longer life expectancy than the 80-year-old that you met at the senior center, right? And so as long as you do a great job, you have a good relationship with them, you may be able to expect renewals for 25 years from a client that's turning 65. That's not unheard of at all. You're not going to get that when the average age of who you're selling is 79, lower income who tends to have more health issues. Like you've got a much shorter window to gain, to have a relationship where
Yeah.
you're getting renewals.
And they're harder to keep happy too,
Yep,
the older clientele.
absolutely,
They're
100%.
like when you're turning 65, you're still like, 65 is the new 45. So they're still trying to stay social. They're out with friends. They got more stuff going on. So they're not sitting at home watching Home Shopping Network, looking at all these commercials and then picking the phone up and either calling you or calling another agent or calling the 1-800 Medicare helpline or whatever that is now, getting rolled over the phone where you're getting all these rapid disenrollments and all the other stuff you got to play around with. So, yeah, with the T65, like you said, it's a change in life. So if you're there to provide them value and set the scene, explain the process, um, better for them to take away that anxiety, that fear of the unknown, them feeling unprepared of what to expect, the value you provide, the trust that you build in that relationship and rapport lasts longer, not just in years for life expectancy, but it's like a deeper relationship. It's not, it's less transactional.
Yeah, less transactional, more advisory, right?
Yeah,
You're
correct.
like a trusted advisor. Well, look, that's a lot of information to take in at once. Like, I think that highlights like the upfront commission, the renewal potential, the cross-sell potential. Like, I think we've sold that. Now, I'm going to save the devil's advocate I was going to do for one of our next videos. And what that was going to be, just to give like a little taste here, is I'd like to ask you, like, okay, why wouldn't everybody be selling T65s, right? Well, it's because it's harder. You have to have a better strategy. You've got to set yourself apart. Sometimes you may need to spend more money, have a better strategy, or you do have to do something differently, right? So we'll talk about that. That's a longer conversation. But yes, like if it was so easy, then you wouldn't provide a coaching program. I
Right.
wouldn't provide paid coaching calls where I help give people insight into what I'm doing that works. Like there is a trade-off, but it's worth it. So we'll dive into some of that.
Yeah,
Anything you
like
want to
everything,
close
right?
on
Like
here? Go
like
ahead.
every it's kind of like the if it was easy, everybody would do it. So it definitely yeah, agents who do any sort of Medicare marketing, whether they're doing it themselves, whether they're paying a company to do it for them, social media ads, postcard mailers, whatever. Um, the T65 niche is a whole separate animal. Um, and just going on what you said, and I know we can get into it next time, but yeah, a lot of agents still think targeting T65, the marketing message needs to be the old way of doing things. Hey, I can give you a free quote. Let me help you pick the right plan. They don't care about insurance. That's not the question they're asking at that point in their life. It's a totally different question. We can get into that next time, but
Yep.
yeah, it's a different you got to do things different to make it work and work well.
Yep. I'm excited to talk about it. For those that just don't want to wait around for another video, that in the description there's going to be a link to his website, a training video, um,
Yeah.
just any way that you need to get in contact with him. It'll all be in the description below. Andrew, this has been super helpful for me, so I appreciate it. But I know hopefully there's a lot of people that catch this video that find value in it.
Yeah.
And we will schedule a video and talk again soon, brother.
Yeah, I'm happy to pay it forward. If anyone wants to jump on my email, it's a free email newsletter at t65sellingsecrets.com. And my coaching program is called Renegade Medicare Millionaire. You can find the stuff out there. And Kenny will link a free training video, a T65 training video. So hopefully you guys can check that out, get some value, make some more money this year.
All right, man. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks.